At the start of the movie, 8 candidates are shown preparing for a hiring exam for a high-paying corporate job. Some try to boost their confidence with motivational self-talk, while others adjust their appearances before heading to the examination hall. The hall itself is dimly lit, with identical desks neatly arranged for each candidate. Surveillance cameras are installed to monitor their actions. Once all 8 candidates are seated, a guard holding a gun enters, making them visibly uneasy. Following him is a man who doesn't share his name but introduces himself as the Invigilator. The Invigilator acknowledges the challenges they face to get to this stage, revealing that they have already cleared the previous selection rounds and are now the finalists. He explains that this is the last test, and if they succeed, they will secure the dream job they've worked so hard for. He then lays down the rules of the exam, emphasizing that no federal laws apply within the room. Instead, they must adhere strictly to the laws of the test. Communication with the guard or the Invigilator is prohibited. Additionally, if they damage their paper in any way or leave the room, whether intentionally or not, they will be disqualified. The candidates are given 80 minutes to complete the test, which consists of answering just one question. After explaining the rules, the Invigilator asks if anyone has questions. When no one responds, he wishes them luck, starts the timer, and leaves the room. The candidates flip over their papers only to discover that they are completely blank. They glance at each other in confusion, unsure of what to do. As time ticks away, their anxiety increases. Candidate number 2 decides to write on her paper, explaining why she believes she deserves the job. The cameras zoom in on her, and the guard is instructed to remove her for violating the rule against damaging the paper. She pleads for another chance, but the guard escorts her out and locks the door behind her. The remaining candidates grow more nervous. After some time, candidate number 5 points out that the rule only prohibits them from speaking to the Invigilator and the guard, meaning they can talk to each other. He shares this realization with the others, convincing them that they need to work together to uncover the question before finding the answer. The group begins brainstorming possible strategies, but their confusion only deepens. Throughout all of this, candidate number 1 remains silent. One man attempts to introduce himself, but number 5 suggests they use nicknames instead of revealing their real identities. He assigns candidate number 1 the name Def, since he hasn't spoken yet. The others receive names based on their physical appearances: brown, black, and white for the men, based on their race, and blonde, brunette, and dark for the women, based on their hair color. White proposes that they try standing up, reasoning that there isn't a rule against it. He cautiously rises from his seat, and the guard remains still, proving that they are free to move around the room. Dark suggests that the question might be written on the paper in invisible ink or as a watermark. The group agrees to test her theory, though they don't know how to check for such hidden writing. Dark steps up and holds her paper close to the lights in the room, hoping something will appear, but nothing does. Still, she insists that everyone should check their own papers in case only one of them contains the question. Everyone complies except for Def, who stays seated in silence. White examines his paper under the light but finds no results. Black then theorizes that the writing might only be visible under UV or X-ray light. The group searches the room for a switch or control panel that might activate special lighting, but they come up empty-handed. Determined, they begin looking for alternative ways to create the required light source. Def continues to sit quietly, visibly anxious and unwilling to participate. Eventually, Blonde discovers strips of emergency lighting in the room. However, since there is no visible switch to activate them, someone suggests breaking the other light bulbs to trigger the emergency lights. Brown objects, arguing that it's too risky, but the group decides to vote on the matter. After some debate, they agree to go through with the plan. After smashing all the light bulbs in the room, the space suddenly glows blue, illuminated by an emergency black light. Everyone immediately starts searching for the question on their papers except Def. However, they are let down again as the question remains invisible. Brunette suggests removing the top layer of the strip lights, reasoning that they aren't working, and doing so might uncover UV rays that could reveal the hidden question. Using a woman's high heels, they shatter the strips to expose a different type of light. Yet they are met with disappointment once more when this attempt also fails. With only 60 minutes left, White grows frustrated and urges the group to think of new ideas. During their brainstorming, White points out that they can freely use the paper belonging to contestant number 2, who has already been disqualified. Gathering around her desk, they try tracing the paper with a pencil, but still no question appears. White, losing patience, tears the paper into pieces for experimentation. In a desperate move, he urinates on one of the papers, hoping it might be activated by liquid, but this method proves useless too. As tensions rise, Black and White get into a heated argument over their next course of action. The dispute halts abruptly when Def begins crying silently at his desk. The others look at him, some amused. Suddenly, Def starts speaking in French, babbling about whether they can see anything on the paper and claiming that it reflects their images. The others dismiss his ramblings and return to brainstorming. However, everyone goes silent when Brown speaks up with his theory. Brown suggests they might not actually be in an exam, but instead part of a betting game. He believes the company's board members are wagering on who will break under pressure, and their true purpose there is for entertainment. Dark dismisses the idea, saying the board members likely have more important things to do, but Brown argues that with the kind of wealth they possess, the board members thrive on risk and amusement. This revelation prompts everyone to share their own suspicions. Some think the Invigilator might be behind it, while others suspect the CEO. The group begins to crumble under pressure, hurling insults at each other. Brunette confidently declares there is no audience watching them because the CEO is a hands-on leader who controls every aspect of the company. Her confidence hints that she knows more about the CEO than the rest of them. Brown confronts her, asking asking how she knows so much. Brunette admits she already works for the company in the HR department, though she has never met the CEO. She explains she applied for a higher position and was brought to this test. White then reveals that he was specifically headhunted and offered a position, but the others claim they simply applied for the job. The one thing they all have in common, however, is that they were instructed not to ask any questions about the company. Brunette goes on to explain that they are applying to work for a renowned multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company called Birog. Years ago, during a pandemic that primarily affected young people, Birog was the first to develop a cure. Today, the company earns $20 billion annually, largely due to the leadership of its CEO. Suddenly, Black speculates that the company might be testing a cure for a new deadly disease that has been killing millions worldwide. This theory piques Dark's curiosity, and he urges Black to elaborate further. White grows suspicious and questions Dark, asking if she too has been infected by the virus. Dark denies it and dismisses his concern. To shift the attention away from herself, she approaches the guard and takes a lighter from his pocket without speaking to him. She glances at the fire alarm and shares her plan with the group to trigger the sprinklers, believing that the water might reveal the hidden writings on their papers. Dark climbs onto a chair to reach the fire alarm but can't quite reach it. White hands her a rolled-up piece of paper, which she lights and uses to set off the alarm. Water rains down, but the papers remain unchanged. Suddenly, the guard approaches the group. At that moment, Dark unfolds her own paper and reveals it, exposing White's betrayal. He had set her up to eliminate her from the competition. The guard drags Dark out as she curses White, calling him a bastard. Black, furious at White's actions, threatens to knock his lights out. As he says this, the room's lights go out, and the group realizes the lights are voice-activated. They warn one another to be cautious about what they say. Meanwhile, Deef starts crying again, and White sits beside him, manipulating and bullying him into tearing up his own paper and eating it. The guard immediately takes Deaf away, leaving only 5 contestants in the room. Black berates White for his underhanded tactics, but White smugly claims they should be thanking him for reducing their competition. He also boasts that he knows what the question is but refuses to reveal it. Angered by his arrogance, Black punches White unconscious in a single blow. The group ties White to a chair and gags him with a tie to prevent further trouble. When White regains consciousness, Brunette removes his gag, and he immediately asks for his medication, claiming that he's infected with the virus and needs his medicine every hour to survive. Back searches White's pockets for the pills but finds nothing, leading the group to believe White is lying to gain his freedom. White insists someone has taken his pill and promises to reveal the question if they return it. Shortly after, he faints and begins trembling violently. While some suspect he's faking it, Black argues that White is having a seizure due to the virus. The group frantically searches for the pill but finds nothing in the room. With only 15 minutes left on the clock, they decide to check each other. Brunette grows suspicious of Brown and eventually finds the pill stuck to a wad of chewing gum under his table. As she attempts to give the pill to White, Brown grabs it and throws it into a nearby vent. While the others try to retrieve it, Brunette pleads with the Invigilator in front of the camera to save White. However, speaking to the Invigilator results in her immediate disqualification, and she is escorted out. After Brunette is gone, Blonde manages to retrieve the pill using a bobby pin and saves White by giving him the medicine. She also untees him while he recovers. Once White regains strength, the group demands the answer he promised. White explains that the answers are the candidates themselves. According to him, there is no specific question, and the one who remains at the end is the answer. The group begins to believe him, but before they can act, White rushes to grab the guard's gun. Black intercepts him and takes the gun first, aiming it at White. Unfazed, White taunts Black, confident he won't shoot. Seizing the opportunity, White attacks Black and gains control of the weapon. However, he discovers the gun is fingerprint locked and unusable by him. White quickly uses the guard's fingerprint to unlock it and points the gun at the group, threatening them to leave the room voluntarily so he can claim victory. Brown, afraid of being shot, reluctantly obeys and walks out of the room, leaving the others behind. A nervous Blonde hesitates but steps forward, shouting lights out just before exiting. The room is suddenly plunged into darkness, prompting White to fire his gun wildly. When the lights return, Black is lying motionless on the floor, a bullet wound visible on his chest. White scans the room and notices Blonde has one foot still inside. He prepares to shoot her, but his attention is caught by the timer, which is stopped. Believing he has won, White confidently approaches the camera and declares himself the winner of the competition. A guard steps in and points to the time. To White's shock, there are still 20 seconds left on the clock, meaning he is disqualified for prematurely speaking to the Invigilator. It is revealed that Deef had secretly adjusted the timer earlier while everyone else was distracted. Now only Blonde remains. She walks back into the room and picks up Def's glasses, which had fallen when he was escorted out. Using the glasses, she examines the paper and discovers the words "question" when written on it. To her surprise, Def re-enters the room, revealing himself as the CEO of the company. He explains that he participated in the test to observe the candidates firsthand. Blonde approaches him and firmly says no. The CEO and the Invigilator exchange knowing smiles, realizing she has correctly identified the answer to the test. It turns out that when the Invigilator had asked at the beginning, "Do you have any questions?" it was the only question they needed to answer. The entire examination was designed to test their intelligence, focus, and observational skills. Blonde is offered the position of the CEO's secretary but declines, expressing a refusal to work for a company that orchestrates such deadly scenarios. The Invigilator then reveals that Black isn't actually dead. The bullet was a special capsule containing a miraculous medicine. This medicine not only penetrates regenerates the body safely but also heals any wound instantly. It is a groundbreaking invention the company recently developed, capable of curing any disease. In the end, Blonde reconsiders and accepts the job offer. The movie concludes as she shakes hands with the CEO, signaling the start of her new journey.
Subscribe for popcorn. We are racing towards 2,000 subscribers.